My name is Adina Langer, and I'm the curator of the Museum of History and Holocaust Education at Kennesaw State University. Our museum is all about telling stories of people who experienced World War II and the Holocaust. Today, I'm going to tell you a story about Anne Frank. Anne Frank was a young girl who lived in the Netherlands during World War II. Sadly, Anne did not survive the war. She and her family were captured by the Nazi government of Germany and died during the Holocaust, a time when 6 million Jews and 5 million other children, men, and women lost their lives. But this is not just a sad story. This is a story about people doing their best to help each other during really tough times. And it is also Anne's story to tell herself. Anne kept a diary between 1942 and 1944. In it, she wrote down all of her experiences, her hopes and her dreams, confiding in an imaginary friend she named Kitty. Anne received her diary as a present for her 13th birthday. Although she was born in Germany, Anne had lived most of her life in the Netherlands. Because her family was Jewish, they left Germany as soon as Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party came to power. They sought refuge in Amsterdam, and there they made many friends. Anne's father, Otto, started a jam-making business. He was kind to his employees and helped them whenever he could. His secretary, Miep Gies, had been born in Germany, like him. When she wanted to become a Dutch citizen, he helped her get the paperwork she needed so she could avoid being forced to go back to Germany to work for the Nazis. Miep never forgot his kindness. After Germany invaded the Netherlands in 1940 and the Nazis took over the government, life became a lot harder for the Frank family. By 1942, it was clear that they would have to go into hiding to avoid being captured and deported to labor camps or worse. Their friends immediately stepped up to help them. Miep and Jan Gies, Victor Kugler, Johannes Kleiman, and Bep and Johannes Voschkel arranged a hiding place for the Franks and 4 others behind the offices of Otto's Jam Company. Anne made up nicknames for most of them, which you'll hear in excerpts from her diary. The helpers supplied the hiders with food and did their best to help them stay safe. Life in hiding was difficult and scary, but Anne and her family tried to make the best of it. They read and studied during the day and listened to BBC News and music broadcasts on the radio at night, and when the holidays came, they did their best to celebrate. On Monday, December 7th, 1942, Anne wrote,
Dear Kitty, Hanukkah and St. Nicholas Day came almost together this year. Just one day's difference. We didn't make much fuss about Hanukkah. We just gave each other a few little presents and then we had the candles. Because of the shortage of candles, we only had them alight for 10 minutes. But it is all right as long as you have the song. Mr. Van Daan has made a wooden candlestick, so that too was all properly arranged. Saturday evening of St. Nicholas Day was much more fun. Miep and Ellie had made us very inquisitive by whispering all the time with Daddy, so naturally we guessed that something was on. And so it was. At 8 o'clock we all filed down the wooden staircase through the passage in pitch darkness. It made me shudder and wish that I was safely upstairs again, into the little dark room. When that was done, Daddy opened the big cupboard. Oh, how lovely, we all cried. A large basket decorated with St. Nicholas paper stood in the corner, and on top there was a mask of Black Peter. We quickly took the basket upstairs with us. There was a nice little present for everyone with a suitable poem attached. I got a doll whose skirt is a bag for odds and ends. Daddy got bookends and so on. In any case, it was a nice idea, as none of us have ever celebrated St. Nicholas. It was a good way of starting.
For those of you unfamiliar with Hanukkah, the wooden candlestick that Anne referred to would have been a Hanukkah, or a Hanukkah menorah. Families traditionally light one candle for each of the 8 nights of Hanukkah, using the shamash, or the helper candle. The song that Anne refers to would have been the Hanukkah Prayer. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Hanukkah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'asa nisim lavoteinu bayamim aham Ba'azman hazeh. Translated into English, the prayer means, "Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who makes us holy through your commandments and commands us to light the Hanukkah lights. Blessed are you, our God, ruler of the universe, who performed miracles for our ancestors in their days at this season." Hanukkah is also associated with special foods fried in oil, including donuts and latkes, or potato pancakes. St. Nicholas Day in the Netherlands is also traditionally associated with special foods, including marzipan, hot chocolate with whipped cream, and ginger biscuits. All of these foods would have been hard to come by for the hiders and the helpers in Amsterdam in 1942, but that year the families in hiding did receive a delicious surprise for Christmas. On Tuesday, December 22nd, 1942, Anne wrote,
Dear Kitty, the secret annex has heard the joyful news that each person will receive an extra quarter of a pound of butter for Christmas. It says half a pound in the newspapers, but that's only for the lucky mortals who get their ration books from the government, not for Jews who have gone into hiding, who can only afford to buy 4 illegal ration books instead of 8. We are all going to bake something with our butter. I made some biscuits and 2 cakes this morning.
During World War II, families all over the world had to deal with rationing of food, clothing, gas, and other essential items to prevent shortages and make sure the military got the supplies they needed. In the United States and Great Britain, children would often get special rations of nutritious, high-calorie foods like butter, milk, and eggs. But in the occupied Netherlands, rations were more restricted, especially for the families in hiding. The helpers had to work extra hard to get them what they needed without being discovered by the authorities. This is actually an example of a ration card for sugar from the United States. So this is what they were talking about when they talked about ration cards. A year later, things were even harder for the hiders and the helpers. The war was raging on, and food and supplies were harder to come by. Nevertheless, Anne was delighted by the kindness of the helpers. On December 27, 1943, she wrote,
Dear Kitty, on Friday evening, for the first time in my life, I received something for Christmas. Kovac, Kraler, and the girls had prepared a lovely surprise again. Meep has made a lovely Christmas cake on which was written Peace 1944. Ellie had provided a pound of sweet biscuits of pre-war quality. For Peter, Margot, and me, a bottle of yogurt, a bottle of beer for each of the grown-ups. Everything was so nicely done up, and there were pictures stuck on the different packages.
By Christmas of 1945, Otto Frank was the only former resident of the secret annex to have survived the war. When the family was captured in August 1944, Miep and Bep saved Anne's diary, and they gave it to Otto when he came home. Their kindness and thoughtfulness is the reason that we know so much about Anne's story today. Anne and her family were targeted by the Nazis because they were Jews. Yet, even when they were in hiding, they kept their traditions alive, celebrating holidays like Hanukkah. But their time in hiding was also marked by opportunities to experience the kindness of their helpers. In addition to providing them with basic food and supplies, the helpers did their best to cheer up their friends by sharing their own holiday traditions of St. Nicholas Day and Christmas with them. Their kindness moved Anne to write about her gratitude in her secret diary. As we approach this season for Festivals of Light, the story of Anne Frank, Miep Gies, and the other hiders and helpers inspires us to celebrate kindness and the power of welcoming and inclusion as we think of our friends of many different faith traditions and backgrounds here in the United States. From all of us here at the Museum of History and Holocaust Education, we wish you love and light for Diwali, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Christmas, Lantern Festival, and a Happy New Year.